So I had planned to begin this video a little bit further west from here. But I was walking around just checking out the area. There's been so much stuff going on, I just wanted to sort of start here. I'm sorry I didn't have the camera running when this occurred, but when I first left the apartment, I literally saw a moving truck pulling out of a parking space, getting honked at by another moving truck driving down the street. So that gives you some idea of the density of moving trucks, the unusual density of moving trucks that are around. As we've heard, President Trump has threatened to cut federal funding to Democrat-run cities that have refused to enforce the law. Now, this building, I noticed a couple weeks ago, had kind of closed down. This was the Townhouse Inn. I don't know when that became the name, but for some time this was the Chelsea Bed and Breakfast. And in the ground floor retail space, they had this King David Gallery, which was like a picture framing place, and you can buy art there and stuff. And then I just noticed this, it says 1,000 dreams within me softly burn. And it's got this eyeball, well, it's like sort of a artist's interpretation of an eyeball with these lines on it. And I don't have a real easy way of turning the phone upside down on this stabilizer, but it looks remarkably like the Oddfellows eyeball inverted. Normally that eye has tears raining from it. And I don't know what that means, why that's painted there. That could be a coincidence. That could be some graffiti artist's tag, or they just think it looks cool. But the other thing that I found interesting about it is I'm on 23rd Street right now, and I don't know if people remember, but like, this is somebody from out of town. Don't stop to let me cross. Keep the flow of traffic going. You're screwing me up. So about 2 years ago or something, maybe a little more, there was that bomb that went off on 23rd Street. And at that time, King David Gallery was across the street over here where Orange Fitness is. Okay, and so this got blown up too, or the window did, and King David Gallery was, in there under that construction, that wood, they're building whatever in there. And for some reason, across the street, the Orange Fitness has that eyeball as well. And another poem, once, if my memory serves me well, my life was a banquet where every heart revealed itself and every wine flowed. So I don't know what that imagery is about, but that's pretty interesting. And one thing I noticed from across the street is that the Orange Fitness building, I guess we're not going to be able to see it from here, it had a sign, supporting Black Lives Matter. They had a BLM sign over there. So what does this all mean? I don't know. But if that is Oddfellows imagery over there on King David's Gallery, I don't know what King David, Bishop Gators was just talking to me about King David the other day. He did something with a harp. I don't really know too much about the Bible from a historical sense or a religious sense or even viewing it as literature sense, but people watching will know something about this. We got that eyeball there. We got Orange Fitness across the street. I don't know, I guess that's apartments up there. I don't know how much of that building is occupied by Orange Fitness and how much of it is occupied by other stuff. I would presume these are offices or apartments and someone other than Orange Fitness, or I don't know, could be offices for Orange Fitness, but we've got enough is enough. Thank you, BLM. So they're supporting Black Lives Matter. But again, that's not what this little area of 23rd Street is, not what today's live stream was intended to be about. But that caught my attention. I thought people would find it interesting. Oh yeah, I am making an effort to try to monitor comments today. I have another phone with me that hopefully is hooked up. Hello everyone. TV guy is a tool. I agree. People are talking about the president of television. I don't know, maybe there's a risk for me even talking about him right now. These fancy rich people with lawyers and less fancy broke people who are trying to sue me either pro se or with incompetent lawyers. they're descending like crazy. I haven't been able to speak about this as much as I'd really like to, because anytime I say anything about it, it finds its way into a pleading in one of the various lawsuits that have been brought against me. So I got to be real careful. But you see, that's part of the way these lawfare practitioners are fighting me, is that I can't appeal to the audience, the people who support what's happening on Crowdsource the Truth. And by support, I don't just mean people who are sponsors on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Those are the people who make the daily shows possible. Whether you're watching the free shows on YouTube, or you've sponsored the show and you're now accessing the sponsor exclusive library on Patreon and Subscribestar. There's like lots and lots of shows on there. Huge library of sponsor exclusive content that's growing almost daily. I really appreciate the people who are sponsoring the show on there. Huge decline August to September, and my sympathies to all the people who left messages that their financial situation has changed. I totally understand. The financial situation is changing for a lot of people, certainly here in New York. We got word today that President Donald Trump is going to be curtailing federal funding, or he's talking about it at least, curtailing federal funding to cities with Democrat executives like Andrew Cuomo, who, this is a huge restaurant, by the way. I don't really dine at Outback Steakhouse, but they're paying rent for a place that takes up a gigantic amount of space, and they've got like 5 or 6 tables. Corporate-owned restaurant. But President Trump is talking about cutting federal funding to Democrat-run cities that have failed to enforce the law, that have engaged in these absolutely suicidal defund the police programs. You cannot run a major city without police. You don't need to be a genius to realize that that's going to result in an increase in crime, and every day we're hearing stories about huge increases in violent crime. There are obvious increases in petty crimes happening all over the place. You know, big stores like Home Depot and stuff seem to be doing all right. I'm surprised that there's no line here today. Maybe this lady is the only person in line. But huge places like this seem to be doing all right. I mean, I think it's probably stating the obvious to say Home Depot, if they wanted to stay in New York, could probably lose money at that location for a long, long time before having to close it. And there's all this arguing going back and forth. Is New York dead? Is New York going to come back? I mean, I don't know if it's dead, but it's definitely beat down. I mean, I've said this before, even for people who have historically disliked New York for being crowded, noisy, you know, any of the things that you may choose to dislike about it. You know, it's like a loudmouth friend of yours who you can take only so much of. You know, you enjoy hanging out with that person to a certain extent, but you don't want to see them battered and beaten in a hospital bed, clinging to life, as we are observing New York City right now. So again, this is 23rd Street. Italy is a gigantic place with a variety of, they have a whole food court in there that is basically, you know, the size of this entire building, which is 1 block or something. So imagine a gigantic food court shrunk down to that. I don't know how that could be profitable. Grubhub, you got to tell your drivers not to ride electric bikes on the sidewalk. That's absolutely dangerous. And I mean, you know, we see a lot of these lunch places are not too filled up. So when Donald Trump announced this notion of defunding Democrat-run cities that are defunding the police, I mean, I support that. This defunding of the police is deliberate destruction of the city. It's a move that, I mean, even someone incompetent wouldn't do that. It's just obvious that it's going to cause crime to increase, people to get killed, the remaining people who are still alive are going to want to leave. We spoke about how they're putting homeless people into hotels on the Upper West Side. We've now heard about rapes happening out in the open in the daytime. There's ways to solve problems and there's ways to do things that make no sense. I definitely think that a prosperous society like that of the United States of America and New York City should look after the weakest members of society, those that are incapable of taking care of themselves. But that doesn't necessarily mean taking drug addicts, dangerous, mentally ill people, and a cadre of others who have unknown problems and just sticking them in a hotel where they aren't receiving adequate treatment, they aren't receiving adequate oversight, they are terrorizing the residents of those neighborhoods or just even causing fear. We're hearing about rape, we're hearing about heroin use in the street. Anyone with a brain would move out of there, and then we've got no tax money. We've got no ability to fund the social programs that could help these people in need. The president rightly making the decision to not use money from other people in other cities and towns around the country to pay for this debaucherous mess. And I mean, if you were giving out money to somebody and they were wasting it and spending it on projects that seem geared towards their friends, like sending money to hotels and sending money to the unions that do various things at the Javits Center, and they wasted it all, would you send them more money or would you tell them, hey, come up with your own plan? So, I mean, we can see, look at the size of this space. I mean, it looks like somebody's doing construction in there to put a new business in there, but I mean, that is gigantic. I cannot imagine what the rent will be for that or who they're going to rent it to. I mean, very probably it's the owner of the building that's doing that cleanup, renovation, repair, get the place into a condition, repaint it, get it into a condition where you could start showing it to some kind of flagship client who would rent that. But it's definitely a renter's market in New York City right now. And we've heard all kinds of stories about large companies, small companies. Yeah, this was in the New York Times. Le Pain Quotidien, my French is terrible, but the Daily Bread closing. That's a popular sort of chain lunch place, restaurant kind of thing that is closing. And I mean, will they reopen? I don't know. I presume business will dictate. This is a very nice florist, actually. It's nice to see that they're still in business. This place is usually super busy. I'm surprised they don't have tables outside. I mean, Charles Schwab is coming over here. So we've been by here with Charles Ortel plenty of times, and we've observed that these businesses are going out, but I wanted to take a walk. This is my old office. 21st Century 3D was in there before September 11th. So I used to walk these streets all the time. That used to be a giant restaurant, Flying Tiger Copenhagen. I don't know what that is now. But I wanted to head over to the place that used to be the police academy. Now this is a neighborhood hardware store that I've done a lot of business with. Maybe these guys will talk to me. This is, how's it going? What's that? Yeah, I'm doing a live stream. I'm asking my buddy Neil how the hardware store is doing. You guys are one of the sole remaining independent businesses. So many places are closing. Sorry, let's wait till they cross with that.
Okay, hold on. When people ask me, is business bad? I tell them, if sales were to double, then business would be bad.
It's really a serious problem. You guys have been here 20 years that I'm aware of, or around in this neighborhood.
We are the oldest store in the Flatiron District. We've been here since 1947.
I've been doing business with you guys since the 90s.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, back when we were over there in Park.
So you've survived Home Depot coming to New York City, 9/11.
Steam pipe explosions, water main explosions.
How does this rank, Neil? How does this rank?
This is completely different than everything else. Because everything else, you knew had an end.
Right. And you've just recently bought this store, right? You were just an employee at one time, and now
No, I've owned this store for the last 33 years.
33.
With my partner. My partner just retired.
He retired, right? I remember you telling me that.
But
What do you
we
think?
still got a ways to go. It's terrible.
Will you be able to last?
Well, we're very fortunate. Our landlord has been working with us,
Uh-huh.
and so he's accepting the rent that we can afford to pay him.
Wow.
And we'll see how long he can last like that, and we can last like that. But right now, this is really looking.
And you're born and raised in New York, right?
You can tell from my accent.
Exactly.
Yes, I'm from Queens.
All right, Neil. Listen, take care of yourself. If I need any hardware, I always come to you
All
guys.
right.
You guys did the lock not long ago. I fixed the lock at my place.
All right.
Good to see you, Neil. Take care of yourself.
Hey, I'm really interested in your.
Oh yeah, if you go to Crowdsource the Truth on YouTube, or just look up Jason Goodman on YouTube, it's a live stream. Got the gimbal and switcher.
What is that? What is that?
That's controlling. I can switch the direction of the camera, and if I had more than one camera, we can do all that stuff. Take care, fellas.
Give me your name. Again.
Jason Goodman on YouTube.
Okay.
Crowdsource the Truth.
You have examples of
It's all that stuff is
Jason Goodman.
on YouTube. Well, just look for my name on YouTube. You'll find me. Thanks, guys. So this is my old neighborhood, and I used to always deal with that. Hardware store was in a different location when I lived here, but stuff is going out of business all around. Oops, the volume turned up on this by accident. That's my phone. I'm trying to watch the comments on. So here's Giorgio's restaurant. Pretty nice looking place, but virtually nobody eating there. All these restaurants, I guess it's lunchtime, they're empty. And now Charles was telling me that de Blasio says they're not going to open indoor dining until next year. Now wait a minute, is this WeWork again? Maybe it's just we. Oh, I hope we're still live. This thing has stopped. It's just the playback. Yeah, so anyway, I'm heading west over here. Yes, still live. Yeah, see, look at this. What they've done is the president of television and his malicious attack have so tremendously reduced the viewership of Crowdsource the Truth. Normally these live streams have over 1,000 viewers. It's cut in half. Now look at the number of places that are out of business over here. Retail space. When I used to live over here, these places were always occupied, always rented. That place over there, Via Amelia, at one point was a computer store. Back in the day when, retail, that wasn't that long ago. I mean, I guess it was maybe close to 20 years ago. In my memory, it doesn't seem that long ago, but I guess, it is sad to see what a government can do in a short time, Judy. This is a corrupt government. The other thing that we heard was, wow, this was a bank, I think. Banks putting their spaces up for rent. I mean, I don't really care about banks losing money, but it's an indicator that there's just a real huge amount of surplus in terms of real estate available for rental in New York. I was asked some questions earlier today about Kyle Rittenhouse, and I don't really have a position on that in as much as I don't know enough of the evidence to really weigh in. My primary feeling about it is it's a very good example of how the court of public opinion has taken over, and that allegations are used to condemn people and ruin their lives in defiance of due process. I'll give you another example. There's a lot of disgusting, lying social engineers who, when I say something like, hey, I used to live in this building, 254 Park Avenue South. I rented in this building. It was a rental building many years ago. I lived here. I moved out on the last day of 1999. And in part, I did that because the building was converting itself to a much fancier condominium building. So they wanted all the renters out. They tore out the whole inside and made it fancy. And years after I moved out of there, it was revealed to me in the movie Weiner, about Anthony Weiner, that Huma Abedin and Anthony Weiner lived in a condo in that building. Now, that was like 15 years after I moved out, but this fat, bloated, idiotic social engineer takes that little piece of evidence and turns it into I lived in the same building with Anthony Weiner, and that I am working for the Mossad as a result of that, and all that kind of stuff. Totally false. But they present some, dumb little piece of information that they consider evidence, kind of like these videos of Kyle Rittenhouse, or the fact that the guys who the skirmish took place with are dead. Perhaps it's evidence of something, but it's not evidence that the Jim. You're on Crowdsource the Truth right now. We're live.
How are you,
I don't know if you want to be on there, but
oh, sure. Yeah.
all right. Well, here we go.
Wow.
Crowdsource the Truth viewer, who I've met before.
How's it going?
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, good. I've been updating the videos daily.
Good. Thank you for your sponsorship, Jim.
Oh, that's right.
It's good to see you
You're
here.
doing a
on
great job, man. I'm glad
Thanks,
you're,
and I'm glad to see you eating at La Express. I like this restaurant.
Yeah, that's nice. I've talked to him. I was just talking to the manager. And,
How they doing?
Well, they were doing much better when they were open.
Right.
And the revenues are down. They're anxious to see what's going to happen in November.
How's the hospital doing?
A hygienist, a dentist.
How's the dentist doing? Oh, that's good. Dentist is busy, Jim.
Okay. But no, it's a beautiful day. I was out on the bike.
Oh, wow. Nice. Bikers for Trump.
Yeah, right. Right.
Is that your money, Jim?
Yeah.
You got to hold on to that. It just blew off the table.
Thank you, sir.
Anyway, yeah. So listen, I won't disturb you, Jim. But one of the things about La Express is that this one of the restaurants that's open 24 hours.
Right.
So if you work late, if you get in on a
Yeah.
late flight, and you want actually a nice meal,
Right.
that's not too expensive, this is a place that you could come to.
I had dinner here last night, and I just ate brunch.
But I don't know if they could sustain the staff and everything in a 24-hour. There's not going to be a lot of people out on the street at night because it's become
True.
dangerous,
No.
right? How long have you lived in New York?
17 years, something like that.
And
Yeah.
is that a QAnon reference?
No. I don't.
But what do you make of what's
not
going
a
on now? Will the city recover? Are you going to stay?
I don't see any big recovery on the horizon at all.
For a long
I
time.
don't know. Yeah, I don't know how they're ever going to do it. They've ruined the tax base. They've chased everybody out of here. All the people that were paying, and I'm not super optimistic. I don't think this thing's over. I don't think they're just going to turn everybody loose again. They got them under control. The objective is not necessarily a virus. I think it's more financial. I think we're going through a reset. I don't think the reset is going to be successful. I don't think they're going to be.
You're a crypto guy. You're bullish on crypto, right?
Yeah.
And so
That's the
Bitcoin
people's
has
money.
going up.
Yeah,
right?
I think what's going to happen, at one time, the church was married to the state. They were one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then some Protestants came along and protested that.
Right.
Now, the church is not married to the state.
The bank is.
Okay. Yeah. Well, up to this point, the banks and the money and the state has become one. We have to get to a point where the state and the government does not control the money. So we need the people's money. Now they're going to have their fiat currencies and they're going to have their money that they're going to say, well, if you want to buy a loaf of bread or you want to buy dinner, you're going to have to use our fiat currency. Okay, fine. But we'll have our cryptocurrency that we can convert with a smartphone, which is a huge tool, more powerful than a machine gun.
Uh-huh.
And we can instantly convert it and buy their loaf of bread with their fiat phony paper.
How
worthless
close
money.
do you think
and
we
then
are
we
to
can
that?
immediately shift back to our crypto. I think it's coming at us at an ever-increasing rate. I don't know if you ever read the book Future Shock. It talks about the escalating speed at which technology feeds technology.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's going to be upon us before we know it. And I think that we're going to look back at this time when the states controlled all the money as a time when, holy cow, that's when the church was married to the state.
Right.
So we'll have the people's money, and then we'll have the government's money. Everybody will realize that the government's money is phony. They steal it from us. They dilute it. They milk it down. They take it and use it on space projects and underground tunnels and all the kinds of crap, that we have no say-so over.
So you're not on board with Elon Musk and the
Not really.
the brain chip for the pigs?
No. I think what they'll do is that's a giant step towards transhumanism.
Yes.
So those people that take that will no longer be human.
Right.
And I don't know if you even go back to the good book, talks about a new heavens and a new earth, and those people that turn themselves into a machine will not be welcome there.
That's the mark of the beast or something.
Yeah, they will have an outside force controlling them. And who would want a new heavens and a new earth with people that are controlled by the old creeps that are trying to run everything?
It's kind of the first iteration of the Borg, right?
Yeah.
Join the collective. Wow.
Right.
All right, well, Jim, enjoy brunch.
Okay.
Great to see you, man.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself.
Okay,
You're
keep
still
up the good work, man.
You're still for Trump 2020?
Yeah, but I'm more for crypto. That's the answer. We can't depend on men anymore. They delude us. He's all for vaccines, and he lost me on that.
But I wonder, is he not just doing that as a campaign thing? Because now he's got all the people who want the vaccine saying, wait a minute, that's too soon. So he's like, oh, it's too soon. So that's too
I
soon.
hope he's
That's-
playing a trick
That's
on
what I mean. It
kids. I hope
seems
he
like
is.
perhaps he is.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
if I see
All right.
that, I'll be jumping up and down.
Take care of yourself, Jim. Good to see you, man.
In jail.
Look at that. See, New York City is nice in that regard. You can walk around, run into people that you know. If you've lived in a neighborhood for a while, sometimes I got to get back with James, on the record with James. He's got somebody that he wants me to talk to, but I really love this part of New York City. This is in many ways my favorite neighborhood, Gramercy Park. They've got this, it's called that because there is a park right in the middle of it. And people are going to notice it's much quieter over here, less traffic. The park right there, this is a unique park in New York City in that it is a locked park. You need to be a resident of the neighborhood. This person seems to be from out of town, not able to parallel park. Gramercy Park, parallel park, all that. But if you live in one of these super fancy places around here, that's the National Art Club. I've been in there. So we can't get into Gramercy Park. We can just look at it, admire it from a distance or through the fence. But my second wedding was in there. And I don't know, sharing those personal details. Some social engineer will now do something with that because they are just so incessantly after me. Does it make sense to anybody that adults would spend every day or significant portions of each week for 3 years watching everything that I do, commenting, disparaging me, making up stories about me, and just spending every day trying to report things that I haven't done to the Attorney General to try to get me in trouble? And just unrelenting with ridiculous lawsuits that federal judges have called, every name in the book. Incomprehensible, ridiculous nonsense. So we can see a little bit of what's going on in the park there. Some sort of sculpture. But it's a very nice park. If you have the key, you can hang out in there and have a good time. So, right, the purpose of this trip in part was to let people know that there is just an unprecedented level of legal assault coming at Crowdsource the Truth right now. And its purpose is to defund, occupy my time so that I can't do these shows, and just to get me in trouble and end Crowdsource the Truth. So the best thing that people can do to counteract that is to become sponsors by going to subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth and just become a monthly sponsor. You're going to get a lot more shows that you can watch. You're going to help me keep the free shows going. And this is the way that I think people should want their news to be funded. Why do you want to watch news that's free, that's funded by corporate sponsors? That allows the corporate sponsors to decide when the spigot gets turned on and off. We've heard from Robert Kennedy Jr. that despite his personal friendship with CEO of Fox News, they wouldn't let him on there because the news he had to deliver was contrary to the agenda of their corporate sponsors, the pharmaceutical companies. So the solution to that problem is the viewers have to be the sponsors. The consumers of the news have to be the sponsors. So we've reached the spot that was intended to be the focus of the show today. When I heard that they were going to defund New York City, my concern became that the tax base is eroding. Everybody sees that. Federal funding is in potential danger. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to go over here. This used to be the police academy, but now it's something else. I wonder, are we even allowed to enter? Is this closed to enter? Great, thanks. It's not the police academy anymore, is it?
It's not the police academy.
They moved that to Queens. What happens here now? Training?
It's a different building, different offices.
Yeah. Stay safe, thanks.
Have a great day, sir.
So the reason why I wanted to come over here is because there used to be a steady flow of cops, not cops, but cadets that were sort of always around in this neighborhood. And I tell you, it's interesting because even though cadets aren't cops, at the time I remember thinking that just when you saw a swarm of people wearing NYPD outfits, even knowing that they aren't yet graduated from the police academy, it had the impact of causing people to not screw around. Criminals were aware of a police presence, and it might be a good idea to have moved this to Queens. I think that probably was done because they would have a bigger place. I looked at it online before I came here. I knew that it wasn't here anymore. But I think that that could be a good idea. That's not defunding the police, that's reallocating funding to increase the efficiency of the police. I think that's what we want to do. I have little doubt that any kind of $6 billion bureaucracy is going to have redundancy, waste, graft, all kinds of things that could be done to reduce the money being spent on it or improve the result from the same amount of money. But just this blanket concept of defunding the police is idiotic. I mean, I would want to see some sort of a platform like that to be accompanied with a detailed audit of the police, where the money is going, what specific funds they intend to take away and redirect to what purpose. I don't think the cops like me walking down the middle of the street here in front of their thing. It's obviously some cop office building. There's a ton of people pulling in there. But the point of the matter is the police academy has moved to Queens, and then that's now police offices. And then the police always park diagonally. I guess creates a lot more parking on the street. Seems like something they could do with regular cars elsewhere. But now parking is hardly the biggest problem in New York City. Getting people to want to be here is a bigger problem. So yeah, that was part of the mission, to basically come over here and see what's going on, and also to just walk around and gauge the current condition of New York. We're over here on the east side now. We're getting closer to the spot where in May that guy had his head smashed into the sidewalk by, what was his name? Something Garcia, that police officer. Slammed some dude's head into the sidewalk. Let's see how, no change until the mayor and the governor are out. Police morale is down because they're being made to stand down. Well, that's absolutely true. Police morale is down. And see, that's kind of the dangerous aspect of this, is that even if they don't defund the police, if you demoralize or otherwise defang the police, you get the same result. Criminals are running rampant. They can sort of, do whatever they want. Or they have that perception, at least. That's been my experience. Let's continue to walk around. Best times to go to Gramercy Park grocery stores on Thursdays. Don't forget to wear your mask or you can't get in there. Yeah, right. As it gets closer, look at that. I don't know if people got to see that graph, but even that graph indicates that most people don't want to be around after dark. Everybody has basically noticed that it's dangerous to be outside after dark. Oh my God, it smells absolutely horrible here. What the hell is that? Oh, that's some sort of waste in that thing. Holy cow. Wow. That's making me want to throw up. So yeah, we got a lot of NYPD vehicles and equipment around here. Wow, a lot. And I've also noticed there's a lot of road construction going on. Are they defunding the police to fund the roads? Repaving roads? Guy almost ran me over. I can't say that I've necessarily walked on this particular street before. Right, so it's the back of the former police academy. I mean, this is like a police neighborhood, I guess. Now it just says Police Department, 13th Precinct. Got the names of officers who died on September 11th. We're getting close to September 11th. Yeah, any place there's a police precinct, there's cars parked up on the sidewalk like this. Hey, look at that. School of Visual Arts has a building over here, I guess. SVA. Done some stuff over there in the past when I was in the 3D world. So, yeah, just wanted to sort of have that. Oh, here's a barber shop. What do you think about Nancy Pelosi and that whole flap with the hair salon in San Francisco? What do you think about that whole thing with Nancy Pelosi and the hair salon in San Francisco?
Oh man, I didn't hear about that yet.
Well, you know, she went into a hair salon not wearing a mask, and the owner of the hair salon got accused of tricking her or something, releasing the video, and the owner didn't do that. It was just a security video. I mean, obviously, this shutdown is affecting your business. Aren't you upset that they've shut down the city?
Of course, but I mean, everybody got affected.
How you guys been doing since you reopened?
So far, so you know, I mean, we surviving right now for that. We don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, so.
How long you been in this spot?
We just opened actually 2 months ago.
Oh my God, 2 months ago,
Brand
after the
new,
pandemic.
yes.
Why did you choose
Because
to?
we were in the middle of construction already.
Oh wow, so you were in a lease that you couldn't get out of.
We stayed. We had to do something.
Wow, that's a tough situation because you don't really have an established clientele.
Not really, so it is what it is.
Good luck. Take care of yourself. Huh. So this is kind of interesting to watch. Creative strategy and business innovation. I wonder what that creative strategy will be. I didn't hear what that lady said. But it's interesting to walk around and speak to the different business owners. I mean, everybody's got a unique set of problems that they got to deal with. And Nancy Pelosi and Andrew Cuomo and the various rich jackasses who control the fate of all the rest of us, they don't seem to care. They want to, get into that hair salon. I don't care that Nancy Pelosi wasn't wearing a mask. In fact, I think that's good. That's a sign that she knows that the mask does nothing and isn't necessary. Oh, wait a minute. I'm not saying that the mask does nothing. I'm saying Nancy Pelosi appearing in public demonstrates that she thinks that. So if YouTube or anybody has a problem with that being said, they should take it up with Nancy Pelosi. But the point of the matter is, she right away came out and said, I take responsibility for being set up. I take responsibility for being the fooled. So she's actually not taking responsibility. She's blaming somebody else. The owner of the salon that I saw didn't set her up. They just said that she came in and the security camera footage was there. The thing was recording. She was on Tucker Carlson, I think, last night. It's an interesting scenario Charles brought to my attention that I was previously unaware of. But it just shows the hypocrisy of Nancy Pelosi, and she's the Speaker of the House, right? So it shows the hypocrisy of Congress, the hypocrisy of all these policies. She's supposed to represent us. Everybody's going broke. She's making money from insider stock trading tips while she goes and gets her hair cut. That poor guy is locked into a lease. He's got to continue the construction and open a business that nobody knows about. And I mean, who would go there? I guess people might, but there's a lot of people who probably got into cutting their own hair or having their boyfriend or girlfriend or spouse cut their hair. And maybe they've decided, hey, we're going to save money by not getting haircuts anymore. And as I said to him, you don't have an established clientele, what are you going to do? So we're on the north side of Gramercy Park now. It's good running at the gym. Yeah, that's the funny thing that a lot of people don't realize about New York. It's got certain aspects to it that are a bit like a small town. Are you worried that they're going to defund the post office? Worse, to defund the police, right?
That's all I worry about.
You are worried about that. Be safe. And that guy wasn't wearing a mask. I like that. See, we could have gotten into a longer conversation with him. That is someone who's come here from a foreign country. And he's not worried about defunding the post office. I'm not worried either. The post office is basically the most incompetent segment. Well, maybe I'm speaking too soon, but it's an incompetent government agency.
Okay.
I don't know why they would be the ones that we think could defend against some alleged sophisticated Russian attack. Is that the government group that you would entrust with the security to defend against the dreaded enemy of Russia? Yeah, we'll get the post office. Chrysler Building. That's a fantastic New York landmark. You cannot go up into the top of it. I was in that Chrysler Building one time for a meeting. It's just offices in there. There's no observation deck or ability to get inside the Art Deco thing. See, like one thing that should be happening with the police, and I can't remember if this was Bernard Carrick or Rudy Giuliani who said this, there's far too much personal cell phone use that I observe among the police. Like, unless that woman was talking to whoever is the head of NYPD traffic, what is she doing on the phone while she's working? I mean, if you were in your office and the boss came in and you were texting, calling your wife, calling your girlfriend, I mean, sure, some of that is okay, but I'm not the boss. However, every time I observe any of these people, police, they're on the phone. They're looking at the phone. They're supposed to be patrolling these neighborhoods, looking around, keeping their eyes open, making sure nobody's up to no good. But they don't seem to be doing that for the most part. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't get FedEx involved in the election. They seem to be more competent than the post office, but it's a private company, so you can't have them handling the election. They should just leave it the way it was. And if you're too afraid to come out of your house to vote, then don't. Speaking of boy in the plastic bubble, this is a pretty innovative dining option right here. There's another place out of business, retail space available. Oh yeah. Have we looked at this place before? Huh. Photographiska and Vice. So this place is the Photographiska, and it's loaded up with weird memes and sigils. Like this thing right here looks very much like that warning on 425 Carroll Street in Vancouver that David Hawkins and I visited. And this museum has a lot of weird imagery. I can't remember if I've ever shown this to anybody before. And it's hard to see inside right now, but they feature a lot of unusual imagery. I guess they've changed the display since the last time I was here. It's interesting that they choose to paint this on skateboards, and that guy Kyle Rittenhouse was hit in the head with a skateboard, or whatever. They were attacking him with a skateboard when he defended himself. Yeah, so this place is fully on board with, you know, F the White House, F the police, I suppose. You got to get sprayed before you go in the museum?
Hi.
You got to get sprayed with stuff to go in?
Sorry?
Do you have to get sprayed with this?
If you want, I do have to take the temperature and ask a couple questions. That's
Okay,
it.
thanks.
Thank you.
I don't want to get into a bunch of questions with that woman. I'm sure she doesn't know the details of what that place is all about, but I've observed some extremely bizarre imagery there. And as we could just see from the latest exhibit, they're definitely down to defund the place. This Morton Williams, when I used to shop here, was absolutely disgusting. I saw a rat in there one time.
I leave on Thursday.
This was the type of supermarket that we had in New York City before Whole Foods came. I really was a big fan of Whole Foods before Jeff Bezos took it over, because we really didn't have supermarkets in New York City. We just had, like, I mean, that Morton Williams right there was one of the primary examples of a supermarket, and it was gross. The food offerings were not so great. It was expensive. It was small, so you couldn't get like big sizes of things or large amounts of things, and you were fighting with rats to get your food, so it was less than ideal. I mean, that guy doesn't want to be on camera, so we'll accommodate that. Oh yeah, wait a minute. Here's another moving truck. I'm sure people will have observed more of these than I have, because I haven't been looking for them. But just when I was out before without the camera, I observed a lot of moving trucks. We're back to a segment of this neighborhood that's residential buildings, so perhaps we'll see more of them. I see something right there that says for rent. What is that? 34 East 22nd Street, Brownstone Residence. Oh, this is a fancy, expensive place. This whole thing is for rent. Here, Dumbo Moving and Storage. So that's another moving truck. Another place out of business. See what the comments are saying here. Yeah, we got a big line there. What's that line for? Pale Horse says Kamala Harris, the wrestler, dies, and next day Kamala Harris is named VP. I don't know anything about that. His name and pic pops up wearing Kamala for President shirt. Middle name is Devi. That's a strange, I know nothing about that. 4-time loves the walks. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. For people who are really enjoying the walks, please become sponsors. Crowdsource the Truth is getting hit like crazy. Look, rabbit movers. Another moving truck here. Nail spa. They're still doing it by appointment. Yeah, if you could become a sponsor, it helps me a lot. There was a huge decrease this month in, I guess that's people waiting to get into the bank. This is the line to get into the bank. Wow, why is there such a huge line? All point ATMs. That's people waiting to get to the ATM. Wow. Key Bank. I don't really know anything about that. Is that like a credit union or something? Like, why aren't these people just going to another bank? I guess there's not that many Key Bank branches around. We've seen this out of business place before. But yeah, if you watch and enjoy the show, please become a sponsor, because what's happening is the sponsorship is dwindling, and at a certain point, if it goes away, obviously I'll need to find something else to do to earn money. But the bigger issue is, we've got all these social engineers who are, even though I haven't been talking about the specifics, they're ramping up the attacks. And I've spoken about how the president of television has struck the main YouTube channel. It's had a huge effect. Viewership of all shows are down. The ability to reach the 115,000 subscribers currently on the Jason Goodman channel is dramatically reduced. So if you can't become a sponsor, I understand there's a lot of people experiencing a financial crunch right now, even though it can be very low monthly sponsorship fee. The other thing people can do who are fans of the show and want to help, share this video. What they're trying to do is reduce the reach that Crowdsource the Truth has, to reduce the influence, to reduce the number of people who see this information, who can ask questions about it, make up their own mind about it. They just don't want the information going out. They want me shut up. They want me to go away. They don't want Charles Ortel. They don't want David Hawkins. They don't want John Cullen. They don't want the Moriartys, Mike Moore, Ole Damagard, Cody Snodgrass, all the great guests that we have on. They want to shut Crowdsource the Truth down. And we're hitting a real stride right now. We've got some great guests coming on this afternoon. It's so hard to see the screen with the sunglasses on. We've got Diamond and Silk coming on. Special episode with Charles at 4 o'clock today. And I mean, that's a huge, huge guest opportunity for us to have. And it's coming just after a milestone yesterday. We had U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn. That's the first sitting U.S. Senator to appear on Crowdsource the Truth. I have a feeling it won't be the last, but certainly the president of television, he wants it to be the last time that happens. He only wants people who are anointed with the coveted Emmy Award to be able to talk to our politicians and ask them questions or give them a platform. They want to choose which politicians get to speak their mind and share their information and which are suppressed. Oh, this was a restaurant that is now closed, empty. I don't know if people can see in that glare, but the place is just totally empty. That was a big restaurant in there. They're open. The Keck Experience Center. I guess you could go in there and experience a toilet. Good Kohler bathroom people. This is another restaurant with nobody at it. Perhaps they're waiting for dinner. I don't know, that looks just sort of half set up. I don't know this restaurant. check out comments here. Yeah, I wanted to come out and show everybody the city because I was feeling that there's a potential danger to the residents of New York as Donald Trump and Andrew Cuomo enter this sort of pissing contest, which is there could be no funding for critical services in New York City. And I don't blame the president. I actually support what he's doing. I'm just concerned about the potential pain for New York City residents that might accompany it. Beautiful showroom is closed temporarily to support social distancing. Back to comments here. Judy, thank you. Thank you, LM. Yes, people can join on Patreon and Subscribestar. Post office box for checks, etc. I don't have a post office box. I just use the regular address. I prefer to not announce it on the YouTube stream, but if anybody wants to send a sponsorship payment that is not an online payment, you can email me, truth@crowdsourcethetruth.org, and I'll provide all that. Very sad. This used to be Mira Sushi, and it's closed forever, they told me. But yeah, truth@crowdsourcethetruth.org. I can accept sponsorship payments that are checks or cash or whatever people want. I can even offer yearly subscriptions on Subscribestar that are paid for with checks or cash or other methods. But again, send me an email on truth@crowdsourcethetruth.org to work out those details, because I need your email address and a couple of other things. Warehouses with food being stocked. I don't know about that. Pelosi should come to Alaska. That's good advice. I was looking, Alaska is, I think, the lowest income tax of any state. I was looking around at different states because, you know, New York has very high income tax, and I mean the obvious, and property tax and all that. I think that the obvious play, if you're Andrew Cuomo, is to increase the tax on people who remain. I mean, where else are they going to get money if the federal government isn't giving it? And if the tax base is totally eroded because everybody's moved out of town, they're going to need money, and they're going to be hitting up all the rest of us who are still here. So that seems like a drag to me. Let's see what else we got here. It's expensive to live there. Yeah, New York. Safety first. Yes, right. Well, and by that measure, I shouldn't be looking at comments while I'm walking around. I am a bit of a target. You know, somebody on the news was talking about how this guy who got shot in Portland, I think, was targeted because he was sort of a well-known local, I guess, conservative activist, or I don't know what. But then, you know, Charles and I were talking about various ideas for where we wanted to go, and this has come into the conversation that he and I could be, you know, targets, scalps, if we're, you know. I'll leave it at that, but I will also include the warning to whoever might be attempting to triangulate my location or want to stop me on the street and whatever. I mean, it's one thing when I run into Jim, who I know, or I approach somebody who I'm talking to, but please don't approach me on the street if you are a legitimate viewer, friend of the show, somebody who wants to say hello. It's just impossible for me to know, and I am no longer unarmed. So people who want to approach me with bad intentions, I'm not going to go into details as to exactly what I'm describing, but if you want to find out, I recommend against it. And I hope that people watching will recognize that there is some degree of danger in coming out and walking around and putting myself on display. You know, a lot of the trolls, this is another thing that's come up from this guy who is, let's call him BOG, brother of George. Who could I be talking about? I don't know. But you know, his latest thing is that he's contacted the New York State Attorney General. I support this move by the Attorney General. She's saying that sock puppets on social media should be illegal. And I agree with that because they're used to deceive people. A sock puppet is an account on some sort of social media network or just a fake internet persona where you take on an identity that is not you or that is intended to make the people think that it's somebody other than you. And there's that weird inked place. And then people use these sock puppet accounts with malicious intent. They come into the comments and they say, disruptive things. They try to upset people. They try to discourage them from becoming sponsors on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. What they've actually taken to doing now is actually coming into Patreon at $2 a month or $5 a month, and then, making these kind of comments in Patreon that don't seem to be consistent with a comment that would be made by someone who feels that they like the show to a sufficient extent that they're going to sponsor it. They feel more like a comment made by someone who dislikes me. And when I begin to speak with these people, they don't, they don't seem like normal viewers of the show. The overwhelming majority of emails and communications and Twitter messages and things that I get from people who like the show is that they really love the show. They like how we make the show and the stuff we talk about and the different guests that we get on there. I mean, that's not to say that everybody thinks every single thing I say or do is great. Obviously, there are people who have criticisms, advice, etc. But the overwhelming majority of input that I get from people is positive. And when I start to ask these people who put negative or disruptive comments, I ask them to give me their phone number, because the reason I do that is not to publicize their phone number or a phone call with them. Most of them are far too unimportant for me to waste everybody else's time with. But the honest people who are just perhaps in a bad mood or upset, they give me the number, we get on the phone, and we usually sort it out, and frequently they feel quite happy by the end of the phone conversation. People who are making these disruptive comments, and I say, hey, you seem like a social engineer, give me your phone number so I can hear your voice and make sure you're not a social engineer that I already know, they refuse. So it's interesting, these sock puppet accounts, they're fake identities that people create for the purpose of deceiving. And they always say the same thing. They say, oh, the founding fathers used anonymous, nom de plumes, so you don't like freedom of speech. No, that's much different. The founding fathers were speaking out against the King of England, who had a stated policy of putting you to death for doing that. I don't have that policy or that power. I'm just an independent guy trying to make a living producing a news, talk, and entertainment show. And I just don't think that critics of me or this effort should have the protection of being able to spew anonymous disinformation. This BOG, brother of George, has submitted a complaint to the Attorney General of New York saying that I am using an army of sock puppets to do what? To build public opinion against him. That's not true. I've never used sock puppets. He's making false allegations. Oh my God. So here's a guy who's about to drop trowel and take a dump on the street. We've heard about it. Here's a guy who's getting ready to go. He's got his tissues ready. He was yanking on his trousers when I walked by. That's not a block from my apartment. Anyway, you get upstairs and get ready for some more shows that are coming today. Don't forget to tune in at 4 p.m. on Crowdsource the Truth 2, because the president of television and a cadre of other social engineers have repeatedly attacked in a very strategic way Crowdsource the Truth. They've done it in such a way that it's reducing the reach. YouTube deals with what's been going on your channel for the past 28 days. So in the past 28 days, there have been 2 live streaming outages, really reducing the monthly count of live videos, the monthly count of live viewers, reducing the recommendation overall of all Crowdsource the Truth videos, and really hurting my business. So for people who like Crowdsource the Truth and want to see me walk around New York City and risk my safety to bring people up to the minute information, please, 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 it's the beginning of the month. I really need to get the numbers back up. I really need to keep this operation going. I really want to continue fighting and exposing these social engineers so that people can understand what they're up to and how they're trying to lie to you. So please become a sponsor at subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. And tune in later today at 4 o'clock. Diamond, Silk, and Charles Ortel. Thanks for watching, everybody.